Art is not only painting, it is a lot of contemplating and looking. Of course, the painting reflects your brain and the brain waves that you have. You can get two people who can try and copy the identical subject matter, either from a photograph or from real life, and you will never get two more different looking items. They will look remarkably different because of the different patterns of the brain, the different rhythm of the brain. A shallow brain will only look very shallow, a deep brain will look deep. Probably we're all somewhere in between. So last week we dealt with the shadows of the face. You remember I used this article I was doing on paper, and I had deepened the shadows from the original brown, which is burnt sienna. It's written on the tubes of paint that you have. And I had gone in with black and white paint to create grey tones in there, okay? So, you know, some of you are at some stage like this. Some of you are not, and that's okay. I understand. It's tricky starting to do these things. Anyway, I always go over things so that you don't get lost. You'll remember that in the process of painting, we have two containers of water. One is for cleaning the brush, and the other one is for using to apply onto the paint surface, canvas. Now this is what is called a palette, P-A-L-E-T-T-E, palette. And that is what you put paint on to mix it. I know that some may not have used that before, so just to get you acquainted with it, it's that thing that you see artists holding. I have arranged the next tone of paint for this exercise we're doing, where we learn all about the self-portrait. I've put the next set of colours that we can mix up for some flesh tone. Now everyone's got different complexions, and it's up to you to look in the mirror, to see what you see and try your best to do it. Now I'll tell you this, there's not just one colour in the human face, there's a hell of a lot of colours. So when you go to mix up these, don't try and mix it up into a paste in the middle, you know, as if you were making makeup and then smearing it all over the face. No, don't do that. Try and do it a little bit by a little bit. So I have out here the colours, and I will write those down on the email, and I will put them on Blackboard announcement for you as well. So the colours I've put out, and I've arranged them on the palette here. You can see I've put a little bit of space between them, and I'm arranging them from light to darker. From light to darker. So I'm going with the lightest white, and then I've got the yellow, then I've got the red, then I've got this brownish yellow ochre, then I've got the burnt sienna, which is a reddish brown, and some of you may not have this, but I've also put this dark brown here as well, the burnt umber. If you don't have that, it's okay. So if you have that arranged like that on the palette from light to dark, white, yellow, red, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and burnt umber. You may not have that, but if you have, you can use it as well. So that's the colours. Now I'm just going to gradually mix a little bit don't try and paint the face all at once. You know, we're not wanting to rush. A rushed painting is like a rushed expert doing something to you. You wouldn't want someone to rush dentistry or surgery on your body. You would want them to take their time and put care and love into what they do. And of course, that's the same with painting. So we're going to gradually put a little bit in the middle here. And I try to just use it in small dosages at the beginning, so you don't want to end up with all the paint mixed together. So I'm just trying to approximate what I'm seeing in front of me. So I'm Scottish, so this is kind of my pasty, sometimes red skin tone. You judge what yours is, you can add more colours. So it doesn't have, don't get obsessive about it, you know, it doesn't have to be exactly what you think you are. Just do what you can and then apply a little bit onto your painting. You can work it up in the shadows here. Now where it's nearer the cheek, I'm just going to apply a little bit of red. Now use all those brushes. You should have got a blister pack with 12 brushes in it in the black box. And if I put a little bit of red, I hope you can all see this okay. It's always difficult to arrange the camera perfectly for these talks. But put a little bit of red there. And then use the brush and blend tones together. Now, put a lighter bit around here. And then as he's more in shadow, I'm going to use a bit more brown on this bit of the skin here. And then that dabbing motion, the same one I was showing you last week when we did the brown shadow underneath there. So underneath the eyes, it's a little bit darker. One of the unavoidable factors of life. I suppose they have some sort of surgery that you can get for it nowadays, but who wants all that done to you? So at the edge of the nose, I'm going to move the browns in here. You can see that. And I'm going to put that a little bit browner in there. So you're not having a grey face. Some of you maybe were worrying, God, am I going to stay grey like that? You just get rid of it. Now you can see here that I've arranged some kitchen tissue, which I'm going to use occasionally to dry out the brush. You can use anything, kitchen tissue or a rag, whatever is easiest as long as you can dry it out. So I'm going to put that little light cheek there again. I'm using one brush just now for mixing that colour, and then I'm going to use another clean brush for drying out the colour, something like that. Drying out and blending, if that makes sense. Okay. So I'm going to do the nose. Now the nose is sticking out, so I'm going to do one half of the nose with a darker brown, like this. And then it's going to get gradually lighter. Now, you know, painting is trial and error. You know, you have to work at it and work at it to make your brain more sensitive and your hand more sensitive. And the brain and the hand are connected. So, you know, if you're not feeling it at the beginning, you will if you keep practicing. So I'm blending that nose in there. I've got a darker brown on this side where the face is darker, and then I've got a lighter here. So I'm starting to blend those two together. And then I'm going to make it really light on that side, but I'm going to blend it so it's not pure white like that. So I don't know if that's starting to make sense, but it's starting to make the nose three-dimensional. And I'm going to go on to this side of the nose here, which is going to be much lighter than the other side. So I'm virtually going in. There we are. Oops. Not sure how that brush got covered in yellow. I tell you, a lot of things happen when you're painting. Use a little bit of browns on the other nostril here because I want it to be distinct from the nose. The sticking out bit of the nose. Okay, that's the nose coming. Because I don't know what you're going to work from, mirrors or photographs, it's up to you. Some people feel that they love working from the mirror, from the photograph, and that's okay. The mirror is of course going to be you all the time, alive in front of you, so it can be more spontaneous, you know, you can get more into it, you know, but it's up to you. I mean, I've seen great work done from just looking at a photograph. It's what you put into it that's important. You're not just copying like a camera. You're putting thoughts, feelings, soul, emotions, love, anger, peace, agitation, all of these things that are the gamut of human experience will go into a painting. That's what makes it interesting. Alright, I'm going to put a bit of lighter around here. Now I put that light around there and then I blend it immediately. Back again. It's a lot of trial and error this. Back again and then blend. I want the face to kind of stand out a bit. So I'm going to go on and do the forehead. Whoops. Now there's never any mistake, that's obviously too red for the forehead, the red brown, so I'm going to just darken that in a bit, put a little bit of light on it, and then I'm going to use the brush to kind of harmonise. It's all, a lot of painting is really blending, you know, blending in colours, making things integrate, keeping the flow going. And then lighter on this half of the face. Now you've got 12 brushes, so use them all, you know. In this room, I've got hundreds of brushes. And sometime or another, they all get used. I think one of the worst things about using brushes is having to clean them all afterwards. But it's all part of it. Now you can see I've kind of done that forehead pretty quickly there, but I've blended it in. Now you'll see from observation here that we have the darker half of the forehead, which has got more browns in it, and then it's moving with a bit more whitish combined with the brown, so it lightens out over there and it becomes more like a forehead, rather than just a flat one colour. You're wanting to create a three-dimensional look if you're serious about painting, not just a flat mask like an empty facade, but something with soul inside it, and that's what we're looking at. So that's basically the forehead. I've done the cheek. Now the lips I'll go over quickly because I'm not going to paint the whole head here because it will go on for about an hour, and this is just the first layer. I'm going to put more on it and more on it. You know, painting is as deep as you are. If you're not very deep, it won't be deep. If you can go deep, it will go deep. You know, it's how much do you put into it? Do you put very little into it, or do you put a lot into it? It's all dependent on your soul. Do you put a lot into life, or do you put nothing into life? So I'm going to make the lips here a bit more redder than they are, because they're kind of like a different colour than the rest of your face usually. You know, they're kind of purpley, darker, reddish. So I'm going to make the top one here a darker red tone, and I'm going to make the bottom lip, because of the shadowing and the position of the face, it appears lighter, the bottom lip, so I'm going to put a lighter combination of those colours with a little bit of white in it. Now, if I had just gone straight on to the paper, in this case canvas that you're using, if I had just gone straight onto it, it wouldn't have this kind of depth already. So what we've been doing over the last weeks with the preparation, with the browns and the greys, leads us to this point where the painting will have an instantaneous depth. So I'm going to put a light on top of the lip. There now. Can you see that? Starting the lips. They're not perfect, but one has to work them up. So I'm going to move darker underneath the lip. Let's go underneath the nose here. I don't know what kind of setup you've got in your apartments, you know, or houses. If you've got room for a mirror, it's good, you know, but if you don't, just use a photograph, it's okay. I know it's tricky, all this. I think I spent years and years and years of my life trying to get any kind of reasonable setups just to paint in. How I envied those people that had really rich parents that could actually provide them things rather than having to work my ass off to get things. But you know, maybe it's better in the long run. You appreciate it more. There's no point in having a victory without a battle, because it's the battle that makes you appreciate the victory. Who wants to be handed a medal for doing nothing? So you keep working at it and working at it and working at it. I mean, basically it's a slow, methodical process that you build up the painting so that you have some depth in it. You know, a lot of despair goes into it as well. You start to think, God, I'll never get anything looking like anything. And then suddenly some parts of it will click and you'll feel good. It's when you feel good that you know that you're becoming an artist. It's when you're in a kind of quagmire of anxiety and worry and I can't do it, that you're still like an ordinary person, you know, and just full of worries and fears. It's a process, you know, and that's why art is so relaxing once you get into it properly. It can give you that peace of mind because you're absorbed in it, you know. You don't really get absorbed in a computer, you just find that you've wasted time. But with art, your time has been spent really well, because at the end of it, you have something worth showing. So this has been, what, about 10 minutes I've been painting this. So it's, you know, it's layers. You know, once the paint dries, I'll go on that again and I'll start to build up more tones underneath that face. You know, I'll just keep going at it and going at it until eventually, at some point in the future, you know, I'd be going in with a very small brush. I'll show you that later in weeks to come. But that's all for this week, which is the basics of the underpainting, making things stand out. You'll all have your own way of communicating, because like I said, every brain has a different rhythm. You've got, everybody is different. That's the beauty of art, and it reflects what's inside you. So that's it, you know, we'll go on there. I'm going to just stop there just now, working up the face bit by bit by bit by bit, gradually making it come integrated. And you can do little flecks there. So those are the colours: white, yellow, red, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, and the dark brown. Mix it up in the middle of the palette, and put it on the canvas. And I've done half the face there, the beginning strokes. Now that, once that dries, like I say, you go on all over that again and sharpen what you're doing and make it more accurate, and you know, you can start to see things inside yourself. You know, I haven't really been concentrating on myself yet. I will, but if I start doing that, my hand will move so fast, and I'll, you know, that you won't be able to. I'm trying to kind of do this so you can see what I'm doing. When, you know, when I move so fast, you won't be able to see what I'm doing, and you might not learn from this exercise. So that's the idea of this kind of talking and walking teaching. You want people to learn without becoming lost completely in the process. So, what am I doing? What am I doing? Will you say goodnight to the students?
Will you say goodnight to the students?
Well, say something original.
Say something original.
He just repeats whatever I say.
Just repeats whatever I say.
We'll let him rest. So, the first layer of flesh, skin tones. That's this week's exercise. Have the stuff in by the 21st of October. You know, send in whatever you can. Remember, you have to text or email me your name and any story you want to tell me about any problems every week, so I can keep your grade up. That's important. So the 21st of October, that's going to be, I think, a Wednesday, is the deadline for this exercise, and it's the start of the flesh tone on top of what you've been doing with the face, with the shadows. And if you can manage to get something, you know, maybe even much better than this, because you've got a whole week to work on it. I've done this in 20 minutes. Good night. Wish you all the best. Bye.